All right, welcome back to Crypto Rolly, the crypto watch that never stops, live technical analysis, price predictions, and trading. So, we have been chopping sideways on very low volume. This means we are coming to a critical point. Bitcoin will have to make up its mind soon. So, today we will break down the charts again, see if the charts offer up any clues, take a look around, maybe at the SPX, maybe some altcoins. So if you like these videos, hit that like, comment, subscribe, tick the bell for notifications. This is not financial advice. Please do your own research. I am not your financial advisor. So let's look at the market. Bitcoin slightly up 1%. Volume back below a billion. It's kind of trading like a weekend. Chainlink slightly down, Tezos slightly up, BNB another 5%. Interesting. It was up 5% yesterday as well. Just small loss gains across the board, indecision, choppy sideways action, hard to read. All right. So, crypto fear and greed index last night recorded a 15. We are still very low as far as that goes, but the world is in a pandemic. We've covered this, pretty much every single day. We've been hovering in this level, so it's hard to think that we could go much lower, but price is offering that opportunity. So maybe we go even lower on the fear index. Could we see like down here at a 5? Or, maybe this just means that we're going to continue higher. And maybe if we can rally up to 7,700, 8K, we get back into like a more of a medium level right here. Maybe that's when we get the dump. So we're keeping our eyes on this. It hasn't changed a whole lot in the past month, just been staying low. So like I said, is there even much more room to go? The chart has a lot more room to go. Not this one, but the price Bitcoin chart has definitely more room to test lower if it wants to. But how much lower can the fear go is the question. Block halving, 27 days away, less than a month, okay? And I've been repeating the previous two halvings. We did see a sell-off about a month before the halving. But, this is a different situation. If, possibly this wasn't, expected here. This big sell-off had to do with, the pandemic, black swan event, whatever you want to call it. So let's say that none of that happened. Let's say we were still rallying. Maybe we were just chopping sideways. Maybe if we were up in this range and it was a month before the halving, we could have gotten that little bit of a sell-off. So are things different considering we already had a massive plunge in price previous to the halving already? So, are we bouncing back to fair price right now and just continue to go sideways? That's what we're looking to see. Right now you can see the volume is still descending. So even with this dump candle here, looked like we were breaking this wedge horizontal, rising wedge, rising channel, you can see. But the volume did not, show breakout potential, and we have just continued to go sideways. Looking at, let's just break it down, guys. Let me look at the Bitcoin dominance real quick, just out of curiosity. Bitcoin dominance on the daily also flagging out. When the dominance was dropping, altcoins were performing well. So if this continues to drop here, the altcoins will have another rally. But, if Bitcoin dumps hard and the altcoins dump harder, you're actually going to see this dominance continue to rise. So did the Bitcoin dominance bottom out here? Or is this just another lower high on the dominance? It's a lot of speculation, a lot of factors going into all of those. And we can take a quick look at the altcoins at the end of the video. The stock market did really well today. We on Monday, or Tuesday, it looked like we were going to pop up, and you can see we're now trading above the orange 50 EMA. If I go down to like a lower time frame, yesterday's video, we were right here, and I was saying basically that we had this little symmetrical triangle. We ended up breaking out of it at the end of yesterday's trading session, and that we could potentially test higher. And we did open today's candle higher and push even more. But, the 15-minute RSI is high. The Stokes are riding high. You can see when they ride, they can last a while, but they end up coming down for a dip. So you could get a little bit of a pullback on the stocks, on the future price, which could affect Bitcoin's price while Wall Street is closed. And you can see the daily, stochastics are pretty high as well. But there's still room if you're using your moving averages. There's still slightly some more room up here. You could still tag up to like 6,900, I'm thinking possibly. Doesn't have to happen immediately like today or tomorrow. So you could see maybe a red candle, retest of this as support. So you had resistance, and then it backed off, and then it retested this resistance as support, and then it bounced up. Now we're above it. Could we retest that level around 2,800 as support and then bounce to 2,900? So, how will that affect Bitcoin's price? The stock markets are still doing well and, still holding Bitcoin's price up. If we start to see a sell-off like we had here, or massive candles like that, I think that would line up with Bitcoin dropping. But, the thing is, I can't base everything off of that. Bitcoin did rally, when we broke from the bottoms. We did start that rally earlier than the stock market, and we are up 80% from the lows on Bitcoin and 30% on the stock market. So, is the stock market actually one step behind Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin the leading indicator right now? So, if Bitcoin decides to dump today, maybe the stock market follows. I mean, it's crazy, but it really has looked like it might even be one step ahead, because we broke up to this point while the stock market was still probably around here. And then when we were stalling out here, the stock market had another rally. Interesting to compare it, all speculation. So let's just do a breakdown, use the usual indicators. Now, the weekly, we did have a dip and a nice little bounce back, but looking like, it might want to continue back down a little bit here. Throwing on the moving averages, we were rejected by the red 100 EMA. We've been talking about this for a while, because you can see how in 2018 it maintained support, you lost it, and there was a big sell-off. So back at this point here, we were saying, hey, if you lose this, could get that sell-off. And it held as support there, but, acting as resistance now, so previous support flipped as resistance. And on top of that, with this weekly close, this is a bit of a bearish wick coming back down. At the end of the weekend, we were actually much closer to 7,300, and leading into that last day, there was still potential for us to close above it. The Easter YouTube title was like a bullish weekly close, because there was potential, but it ended the day in a bit of a sell-off. And not only did we close back beneath it, you also have this blue 10 simple coming down pretty aggressive right now, which could add extra pressure. You did have it cross beneath the yellow 21 EMA, and potentially could cross beneath the red 100 EMA as well. I can't, you can see back here it acted as resistance. I wouldn't say it's the strongest of the moving averages as far as the weekly, but we can see how it acted as resistance here this whole way. So when you were chopping sideways, couldn't close above it, and then ended up dumping below. So crossing beneath that is a bearish cross, not a death cross per se, but a bearish one. And on the following weekly candle, if we do close this as a bearish candle here, you could see this cross back beneath, adding more pressure. Now, if we do get that little downtrend, we could be looking at this 200 EMA level around 5,900, or the pink 200 simple at 56.50. Bit of a range between here on the weekly, let's just call it 6,000, 5,700, and 7,300. Okay. The stochastics were hinting for a cross up, but this has not been confirmed yet. And this blue guy, depending on this week's candle, could either cross up or continue to go down. So we won't really see a confirmation on that till the end of next week's candle. Our RSI, do we see anything interesting here? Not oversold on the weekly RSI, and you are putting in lower highs, high, lower high, lower high, and lower lows, lower low, lower low. Could potentially come back down and form another lower low, and finally hitting that oversold territory. Okay. So that's what we're looking at, possibly, if we do get another dump, possibly bounce off that. You can see where we bottomed previously. Right here when we hit oversold, you had your major bottom back here in 2015, and then again when you hit oversold on the weekly was the major local bottom at the end of 2018. So possibly that would be the signal that we actually have bottomed. Let's see, Ichimoku clouds, we could look at that real quick. That's also, you got 7175 seems to be a number that keeps coming up, and you'll see it as I do, especially with the Ichimoku clouds. Each time frame 7175 keeps coming up, so could be an interesting level to keep in mind here. The Bollinger Bands, we bounced off that bottom BB. We were coming up potentially to hit the middle BB, which is at 7,800, and we're looking at that, was a possible top scenario. Haven't gotten to that point yet, but if we do end up breaking bullish from this consolidation, that might be the top. Definitely an area of resistance. You can see where you came up and tested it here and was rejected previously. Okay. And also you can see where we finally closed above it. We had that massive launch. So, if you can get above 7,800, that could be a nice, that would be a great bullish sign macro on the weekly. Looking at price at 68.58, dropping a little bit. We'll work our way down to the lower time frames. The daily Bollinger Bands have been holding this middle BB support the whole way down. Yesterday looked like we would have closed beneath it and bounced all the way up and closed above it. So this middle BB's at 67.77. So, we're going to see, with this one coming down to 68.60, do we close beneath it for the first time? And that, could trigger down to the bottom of this band, which is at 6,038, but you can get faked out. You can see where we wicked beneath it, each time closing back above, finally closed back below, and then took off. So it's not everything. That's why this is, a tricky game. Excuse me. Nothing guaranteed. Something like that, you would have thought, okay, we could dump, but, we didn't. So. But I am watching that nonetheless, okay? Got to take my clues where I can get them. Looking at the moving averages, very similar. We haven't, and this is a Bitstamp chart, actually. So we didn't close beneath the yellow 21 EMA here, here, here. This one looked like it was, and then closed just back above it. This is coming at 68.59, price at 68.49. So do we actually close beneath it on today's candle? The funny thing though is on BitMEX chart, it did close barely beneath it, right on that line. And it's funny. The market makers obviously know that this is a critical line because 10 minutes before the daily close, it moves exactly to this level. It's interesting to see. So we did close back above it. And I thought, that would have been good for a nice little bounce. We do have that CME gap still above. I'll show that real quick. You can see it better on the 4-hour. So there is this CME gap right here. These often fill, but today is already, I don't know, is today Tuesday? I'm losing the days of the week, guys. Yeah, today's Tuesday. It's hard to tell when you don't have to be anywhere. It's been like a month-long weekend, right? It's been a month end. So you do have this gap up here, but we didn't immediately fill it, and kind of looking like even on the CME chart, ignoring this gap, we could be putting in, a downtrend, high, lower high. Your 4-hour Stokes still up, but hinting across down, and your RSI also potentially putting in lower highs. And you did break this trend here. You had bit of a trend line on the 4-hour CME RSI. So, maybe we come back to fill this another day, or we bounce and we fill it. But, I based a lot of my strategy on Sunday off of the CME gap, but the farther we get away from Sunday, the less and less I'm looking at it, because I can't base everything off of that. That wouldn't be in my best interest. So let's continue with this breakdown. We were at the daily. We were looking at our Bollinger Bands. We had support. It was the same deal with the moving averages. What I did want to say also was, and it looks like we might close back beneath it, but there's still about 3 hours and 15 minutes left in this daily candle anyways. But you do have resistance here at 70.37. That's a light blue 10 simple. And the blue 50 SMA coming down, actually looking like a significant moving average here, considering rejection, rejection, rejection again. This is at 70.92 and coming down. So this could, continue to hold price down as well. So these are the major levels I'm looking at for the daily close. Would be probably 68.60 above or below. Closing, let's say below 68.50 to be safe. We could get, a triggered move down. And if we close back above, 7,100 on the daily, you still have resistance here with this 50 EMA at 71.80. But, this orange 50 EMA, we closed above it, below it, above it. It doesn't look like it's as significant right now as this blue 50 simple, okay? And, the thing is, people have preferences. People use the 55 EMA or the 50 EMA. Some people only look at the simple moving averages. Other people look at the exponential moving averages. So it's good to look at a few of them, and, depending on the time, sometimes some are more significant than others. That's why, you have to look at multiple indicators, right? The Stokes are still coming down on the daily. So Stokes coming down. This RSI, was in a bit of an uptrend as well. You're sitting in a neutral zone, so nothing too crazy here, right in the middle, but losing this uptrend. And if it, starts to come back down this way with the Stokes, that could, set that off. And, if you're looking at levels on a retracement, we can just real quick, we'll do this. We can use, let's see, I already have quite a few drawings. I wish you could look at the fib retracement without your other drawings, but it is what it is. Okay, so the 0.236, let me see, let me drag this over so I can actually see what's going on, is around 66.28. That's going to be this red line here, right in the middle there. And I have this like green horizontal here coming in at 6,700. I have another one at 65.33 based on just previous candle bodies and such. But yeah, you could find support also in this region here. And that's where the 0.236 is, but the 0.382 retracement is all the way down at 6,100, your 0.5 at 56.70, and your golden retrace down to 52.43. Your pink simple, your 200 weekly is going to be rising in this area here. So if you do get that drop, maybe we bounce off of the 0.382 or the 0.5. And if you zoom out all the way, you can also see we're still in the symmetrical triangle where you have one touch, two touch, three touch. We drop beneath it but wick back above, if you can see that. So we're still in this macro symmetrical triangle as well. So, how deep do we actually drop? And, if we get that move up, how far can we actually go up? These are the things. That's why it's a tricky situation. Low volume. Looking at this trend line on the 4-hour, you can see that we're losing that right now. We'll see how this 4-hour candle closes. I just happened to jump on that one. And, we did come up and we hit some resistance here. You had resistance, resistance, resistance. If we go over to my BitMEX chart real quick, I am jumping around a bit, guys, but how we doing? Been 20 minutes? Wow. Okay, I can talk, but there's just so much to look at here. So we are in a bit of a falling channel on price here. I was posting this yesterday. We looked at this on camera yesterday. Using the 4-hour, we had these different support levels, resistance levels. I posted this when we were down here. That's why this is still red. This is still red. And since then, we came up and we've been rejected here each time. Couldn't close above it, and now we're testing back down. So, you can see how these definitely play out. So if I was to be bullish, I would need us to, consolidate above 69.20. Then you're also going to have to break, close a 4-hour minimum above this trend line here, get back above 70.40. Get back above 71.90, fill that gap, close above 7,400. You also have a line there. There's a lot to get above, and with no volume, it's having trouble. If the volume picks in and you start to see, the volume start to increase. So volume, is how we're decreasing. If the volume starts to increase and we're, attacking each level, we might have the strength to break through, okay? But also if the volume increases and we're dumping, we might have the strength to break, this 6,700, 6,600, this little support range here, okay? And guys, if we do close above 7,400, I'm looking at 7,700, 7,800, 8,000. All right, I'm gonna move a little bit quicker because I realize I've been, already over 20 minutes. We were on the daily. I've looked at most of the drawing tools that were of interest. The daily was coming down. The Stokes we looked at, the Bollinger Bands we looked at, the Ichimoku Cloud. The Ichimoku Cloud, you're in this range as well between the yellow baseline and the blue conversion line. That yellow baseline is at 7,000 and the blue conversion line is at 6660. We are hitting this resistance cloud right now. Have entered it, so if you can close above 71.75, the top of the cloud could be that move, up higher. So you do need to get above that 71.75 we mentioned at the top, but you close beneath 6660 here using Ichimoku on the daily, you could get that drop. Let me go back to my Bitstamp chart. Sorry, that was BitMEX. Same levels, same thing. You can see that. All right, so 12-hour, moving a little quicker. 12-hour resistance here at 7,000, blue line. Need to get back above the cloud, which is at 71.75. Your bottom of the cloud, if we drop, is coming in around 64.36. So that could be, we're talking about 6,056, but you will have bounces along the way. So, that 64, 65 could be a potential bounce spot at the bottom of that 12-hour cloud. Your stochastics, we're looking for a cross up, but it hasn't been a sharp cross, kind of like floating this way and could still curl down. And that's what the 4-hour stoch is looking like too, if I go look at that in just a moment there. So the EMA, MA, having trouble getting a close on the 12-hour back above the yellow 21 EMA, looking like another wick, wick up, wick down, wick up. Hard to trade, most likely, unless you were scalping a $50 to $100 range, it's a good chance you could have gotten stopped out. But you know, that's what happens here. Okay, so falling volume on the 12-hour, your blue 10 simple coming down hard, acting as resistance, and you do have this support around 66.80. Okay, it all lines up. Bollinger Bands, we are in the bearish zone, and you have the middle BB resistance at 7,020. Bottom of the 12-hour is 65.86. Okay. Let's go to the 4-hour. We're getting closer to the end of this. 4-hour, you know, we did close above yesterday, the middle BB, but there was no volume to really follow through. Kind of chopping around, putting in a bearish 4-hour. You know, do we close back beneath the 68.60? We're right at 68.60 right now. So we're watching that as well. And yes, the 4-hour Stoke starting to hint at a cross back down. Okay, and you know, if you look at the 1-hour, the 1-hour is crossed down as well and looking to close. And there's 8 minutes left in this candle back into the bearish zone on the 1-hour Bollinger Bands. Okay, and you know, it was just kind of floating there, so we might, you know, attack the downside again. But if there's no volume, it's like a weekend. It's hard to be trusted. All right, finishing up the 4-hour though. Bollinger Bands, Ichimoku clouds. We are in this cloud hitting that resistance level at 7,000, this yellow baseline, and blue conversion line was support, but trading back beneath it. Still plenty of time, 3 hours left in this 4-hour candle. It's around 68.70, bottom of the clouds, 65.77. And our moving averages, you know, having trouble to get back above this green 200 EMA. We were pretty bullish to get above, so we were talking about it back here when we had the resistance level. We wanted to get above the pink 200 simple on the 4-hour and the 200 EMA, and we managed to get above it. It was a fake out, rejected. You know, on the green 200 EMA, wicked up, closed back down, finally got above it, and we had a nice rally, and then subsequently dropped back beneath it, up, fake out, down. So I don't know how significant it really is. In general, you know, we've looked at this, you know, if you zoom out, that the 200 EMA was something, you know, you want to be above in bull markets, and if you're below it, it can be a bear market. And we're flirting with that area right now, you know, at the moment, getting a rejection from it. But you can see, let's just go back in price history. You can see, you know, all the way back here. Once we got above it, we maintained it, held support on that entire rally. And then, you know, when you lost it, you know, there was some chopping in here. This was very volatile range at that time. But at this point, you know, you got rejected, came down. You know, held as resistance here. You can see how it can be an important one as well, you know. Beneath it, faked out, finally found support above it, and you had that rally. So finding support above it is the key. You know, just a couple candles above and below doesn't tell us much, but you know, so it could still be resistance, and we could just continue come down and it can act as resistance. Watching that level. That's all I have to say on that topic there, okay? You know, we were looking at potential bullish divergence on the 4-hour RSI. You had low, lower low, and you had a high and a higher high, but no follow through, no volume. Getting rejected by the 4-hour 200 EMA. Maybe a 4-hour close back above it, which we're at this level right now is 69.55. So close back above it. Potentially could get that run up to fill the CME gap. Okay. 30 minutes on Bitcoin. Well, if you're still with me, guys, let's just real quick look at, you know, just a couple altcoins. You know, they usually just tend to follow Bitcoin. Link is above its 4-hour 200 EMA, so doing a little bit better than Bitcoin. Let me put these back on real quick. All right. But the 4-hour on Link is coming down as well, and it looks like bearish divergence on the 4-hour RSI, considering this is coming down and that was rising. Let's just go out to, the daily on Link. So this looks pretty good, considering you broke above all of the moving averages on the daily. Your Stokes are high, your RSI is high. It depends. If Bitcoin has like just a minor pullback to, I don't know, 6,500, 6,400, possibly, Link bounces in this region. And, when Bitcoin, say it bounces as well and, goes back towards 7K, Link could bounce here and continue up as well. Now, if Bitcoin drops down below 6K, I imagine Link will also fall, putting in lower highs on the daily. If you look at it on the weekly, real quick, let's see. On the weekly closed above the blue 10 simple, pretty bullish. And you do have the weekly Stokes low. We were high up here, so you had a pullback, and we're getting low. And the interesting thing is they're low, and we're already back up at this point. It's not like they're low and we're down here looking for a rise. We're already up here and they're low. So if this can cross up, I mean, Link, man, Link is one of those good ones. Something worth trading. I really only look at Bitcoin, but if I wasn't focused on margin Bitcoin so much, Link would definitely be one of those to trade. Tezos also Stokes on the weekly low. The weekly close above the yellow 21 EMA, so that's fairly good to see as well. You do have the falling volume issue. Potential lower highs could get rejected by this blue 10 simple on the weekly. Going down to the daily. On the daily, this blue 50 simple on the daily is holding price down, much like Bitcoin, and you have the daily Stoke at the top. Could we get a pullback? Maybe, you said you had resistance here. The 200 EMA is at $1.75. So resistance breakout. If we get that little bit of a pullback, could retest that at $1.75. Now, if Bitcoin dumps hard, the stock market crashes hard, then you're going to retest the lows. But otherwise, if you close the Tezos back above the blue 50 simple at a $2.05, could get another rally up, and you are above yellow 21 daily EMA support at $1.88. Ethereum, more similar to Tezos. You can see the daily, the blue 50 simple. That resistance on Ethereum is at $1.65. We're at $1.59. You have the daily 21 EMA support at 154. This one looks a little closer to Bitcoin's chart, I would say. So we'll have to follow up. Let's look at the weekly on Ethereum. Ethereum, not as nice. Weekly Stokes, same situation, but got rejected by the yellow 21 EMA on the weekly chart for Ethereum. Okay. So, like we were saying, Bitcoin is at a spot that would make sense for a rejection. You can see the support, flipped resistance. Ethereum looks kind of similar here. Could get rejected at this point, at least a pullback down. If we do get a harsh pullback, maybe down to 125. But, with these weekly Stokes low, it's hard to say. But like I was saying with Bitcoin, if price does dump, this is going to continue to fall. So you still have room here, and the weekly on Ethereum has not been oversold yet either. We'll have to just keep our eyes on this. They all move together. And finally, XRP. XRP, similar to Ethereum as far as, under its weekly moving averages. This one probably looks the worst of, the coins I've looked at today. Putting in a downtrend, you can see on XRP's weekly. You're still putting in lower highs and lower lows, definitely in a downtrend, and getting rejected here. Do you test back down to 15 cents? you need to get back above the 21 EMA, which is at 21 cents. And really, you need to break this downtrend if you want to be bullish on XRP. Get above the 100 EMA at 30 cents. Get above this top here. Create an uptrend. You want to see higher highs and higher lows. And this is just a non-stop downtrend, and it hasn't been broken yet. I know people they used to FOMO into XRP because of these big pumps that you have seen in the past. These candles, when it pumps, hard sometimes. So people don't want to miss out on that. But you can see they've probably been faked out so many times. They may be getting discouraged on that level as far as missing out on one of those pumps. And, we had this horizontal level back here where you had support, and you're flirting with that. We did bounce from it, but if this gets retested and you lose that, your next support is down at 6 cents. So we'll wait. We did bounce off of it, so that's the good news. And maybe you can, if you do get a test lower, we'll bounce off 16 cents. And, your resistance is at that 28 cents level. Okay? So I think that's been enough. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Looking at Bitcoin's chart, we're 68.65, haven't changed too much. Going to the 4-hour, looking like a potential bearish candle here, potential cross back down, potential lower high, and then maybe a retest back down to that 66, 6700 region. But, lots of different support levels here possibly. So we'll have to stay a little bit patient, and open to any possibility. Have to look at both bearish and bias sides, just so bearish and bullish bias. We have to look at both of them. That's basically where you look for your stop losses, are areas that maybe your trade is invalidated, and just keep an open mind. People are looking at reopening. I think in Japan they were reopening parts of Japan, and now they're worried there's a second wave coming. Parts of Italy are starting to reopen, parts of Spain are starting to reopen. So if they are able to reopen and the crisis doesn't continue, and we've hit our peak in the US, maybe there's a recovery here. But if you start to see a second wave happen, that could signal the next dump in this downtrend, the macro downtrend of a recession that may last a year or two. Okay, it's only been a month. We've only been shut down for a month. We did have a significant bounce, and but there are going to be ups and downs on the way. I don't think it's just going to just straight bounce to new highs immediately. That would be insane. So at some point there's going to be a pullback, I would assume. Okay, and same with Bitcoin. We have been rallying. So we could get a pullback. It doesn't have to be deep down. It could just be to one of these levels, and then, after the halving, continue higher. So, like I say, keep an open outlook. People have been screaming for a dump since here, and, where's that getting them anytime fast? So just play the levels. I'm pretty neutral. I'm just going to try and play the levels the best I can. All right, that's enough for me. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.